So there are new specification releases, as apparently leaked by Nikon in Austria, land of Schwarzenegger, Austria. 10 frames per second and Sony's 46 megapixel sensor. Obviously it would be the case that next year, possibly the year after next, will be the introduction of the RGBW sensor, which I've talked about before, which was invented by Kodak in 2007. There's a white photo site, or technically a trans photo site. So 46 megapixels, 10 frames per second. The really bad news, and it's actually good news, I mean, when you compare, and I tested that camera, the Sony A9, which is only, you know, a 20-something megapixel sensor, and it's $4,500 with an absolutely horrific 5 frames per second shutter. I mean, that $4,500 turd muffin. And I accurately tested the camera, and the camera is like 25% awesome and 75% crap. But the bad news, if you look at it, the good news, you have to have perspective too. A lot of the thing that I notice that people really screw up on when they comment on my videos is they lack perspective. I go like, compared to what? That should be my statement, my mission statement. Compared to what? So $1,000 more than the Nikon D810, technically €1,000, which is $1,000 basically. So it should be more than I thought, $500 more than I predicted, $3,800, $4,000 max. Real introduction price in the Nikon D810 was $3,200. There's no way it'll break the $4,000 mark. It's just no way. I'm assuming between $3,800 to $4,000. It's not going to break the $4,000 mark. But still infinitely superior to the Sony A9, which has got no damn glass, a horrific 5 frame per second mechanical shutter. The only people that are actually saying, you know, 5 frames per second is fast enough are idiot Sony fanboys. The one thing that I keep saying over and over again that people don't understand is compared to what? So at $3,800, compared to what? Compared to like the Nikon D5? Well, the Nikon D850 is not going to be... I hear Petapixel and another foolish idiot website calling this the baby D5. Well, for the past year now I've been saying that the Nikon D850 would be a full-frame version of the Nikon D500, which it obviously is. We still don't know whether it's going to be an EV, a hybrid system in it. There very well could be. If that's the case, that would be justification for the camera being up to, if it's $3,300 introduction price for the Nikon D810, it's €1,000 more than that, as Nikon Austria is reporting, makes it $4,200, $4,300. If it's a hybrid system, people will pay that. If it's just a regular, basically just a full-frame version of the D500, except a lot higher megapixel count, a lot higher than the Nikon. It better not have an AA filter too, an anti-aliasing filter, an optical low-pass filter. Really, really freaking stupid. The Nikon D5 has that, makes the images fuzzy. It will unquestionably, it has to have the exact same dynamic range performance basically as the Nikon D500, which will be exactly what I told people, that it will be less of a hardcore by-the-numbers performer for landscape and portraiture, where speed is not a concern, than the Nikon D810. So that'll be great news because of the past as indicator. Once a camera drops, it's about 4 or 5 months later than the other model drops as well. I already reported on this fact that Nikon has confirmed that they are not going to ditch the D810 once this model comes out. Not going to. So this would make the D810 pretty cheap, but the D810 is already really cheap, especially if you buy a gray market version. So availability is exactly what I predicted. It's stated in October. I said late September, October. So 46 megapixels, 10 frames per second, newer battery, as I predicted, because I knew the D500 was already climaxing the current ENEL15 battery to the max. It could be the new ENEL15A, but I doubt that, but that's certainly possible. But this is not good. You don't need speed for portraits and landscape. You don't. But if it is does not have the hybrid system, and it is a full-frame version of the D500 with clipped highlights. In other words, it has less dynamic range. It'll still be a winner of a camera because it will be everything of the D500 plus what the D500 is not, which is a stellar camera for portraits and landscapes. But then the question becomes, realistically, if we take a look at that, and this is where things get important because I can always analyze things 1,000 ways to Sunday. Since this is going to be right at $4,000, what the hell could I get for $4,000? You can have one camera that's perfect for everything, portraits, landscape, sports, action, wildlife, which would be the D850. But for $4,000, I would rather have a $2,000 Nikon D500, which is perfect for sports, action, and wildlife, and $2,000 on top of that buy a Nikon D810, which would be absolutely perfect for landscape and portraiture. I would rather have a D500 and a D810 than this damn camera. Also, that gives me redundancy and it gives me a better platform across the board. Pixel pitch being taken into consideration, I get more croppability, not really by much. If this is as reported, 46 megapixel full frame sensor, more croppability but negligible on the D500 as opposed to the D850. Redundancy is key in everything, especially photography where you have a backup body. But then you would split the best of both worlds between two cameras, a D810 and a D500. Whereas this would be the best. The D5 is a loser, not just because I said so. You know, I've talked to some of the largest camera outfits in the United States. I mean, we all agree with what I said. They all agree with what I said. I talked to a huge camera chain, the Big Boss, less than 48 hours ago. I mentioned the D5, and he's like, yeah, that camera's been a loser. We didn't sell any of that. D5 is a loser. It's just a loser, damn, stinking ass camera. Nikon has really... Nikon, if you're able to get the truth out of someone at Nikon, which they won't do, but they would tell you the D5 has been a loser. As far as sales, you think, well, it's a flagship camera. It has to be. No, it's a loser. The D5 is a loser. Optical low-pass filter, really poor base ISO, as reported and confirmed. Bad camera. Bad camera. Really, really poor value. It's not a bad camera in itself by itself, but it is a really poor value, despicable camera. And Nikon has nowhere near reached anywhere close to the numbers that they would have loved on the Nikon D5 because it sucks. So this camera will be twice the price of a Nikon D500, and then you get the best of both worlds where you can actually do landscape and portraiture with it at speed. But, you know, if it's twice the price of a D500, I'd rather have the D500 and the D810. This is bad news for Nikon's 100th anniversary. The camera by itself will be the best DSLR. I mean, you already know, even without knowing any further specifications, it blow the piss and hell and back again 10 times over with anything Nikon has. Canon has. Canon has nothing that would come even close to this. Nothing. So to hell with Canon. I mean, Pentax is almost dead. As the Brits and the Aussies say, tits up. Blow the hell out of the Sony A9. I mean, that $4,000... The ergonomics on that camera are crap. 5 frame per second shutter, crap. That camera, you know, when you're using it in bright sunlight, and I was testing the Sony A9 in wide tracking, that camera was really awesome. So for $4,500, the Sony A9 is 30% awesome and 70% sucks ass. Just sucks. That camera, you should see Dave Dugdale's recent review of the Sony A9. You know, like a really, really nice guy. I mean, it shut down on him due to overheating, and he said, I'm not going to buy this camera. And he listed you all the reasons why he would not buy the damn Sony A9 camera. So, when people say, well, you know, that's really expensive, compared to what? What the hell are you comparing it to? I get so much flack for the Fujifilm GFX camera. Right now, it's $700 off. $5,800 right now on Amazon. People say, well, that's a really expensive camera. I mean, what the hell? Compared to what, damn it? The Pentax Z is an old turd. That camera costs just as much and it's not made anywhere near as good, and the lenses are bat crap crazy expensive. The Mamiya Leaf is the same damn sensor as the GFX. That camera sucks. It's overpriced as hell. The lenses are overpriced as hell. So when anybody tells me, that's a really expensive camera, no, it's not. It's the best value medium format camera on earth. Period. There's nothing that touches it. So I love it when people say something's expensive. It's like, compared to what? Damn it. Give me a freaking perspective. It's the same thing I get in lens reviews. People say, well, I like this lens. Well, compared to how many lenses have you used? Well, 4 or 5 of them. Well, okay, you think it's good or bad. Compared to what? You've not really used that much stuff. So anyway, those are the ongoing specs. Realistically, Nikon's going to drop the information. They should have dropped it already, but they're probably going to drop it right at, before, or directly after their powwow. Nikon has a powwow August the 10th, which is 10 days from now, since it's the last day of July. There you go with that. Thank you for watching. And there are additional specifications on the Nikon D850. Hybrid information is still up in the air. If it is a hybrid camera, that would be a killer deal. And then Nikon will be redeemed. Otherwise, there are going to be a lot of people jumping ship from Nikon. It's like, this is the best you can come up with for your 100th anniversary. This is it. A full-frame version of the D500 at over twice the price. So apparently Nikon Austria has confirmed that this is basically exactly twice the price of the Nikon D500. A lot better, a lot superior, a lot better everything compared to the Sony A9 for $4,500. So realistically, it's a fair price. But in the scheme of things, no. Nikon has really screwed the pooch if it turns out being that with the Nikon D850. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye.